every prophet discussed the Dajjal with their nation. What do we mean? We mean that even if you went to the Bible today, if you go to the Bible, the chapter of John, you'll see the discussion of the Antichrist. The discussion of the Antichrist, what is it? A discussion of someone who rejects the position of God and someone who fights the position of Jesus, son of Mary. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he comes forward and he says, every prophet told their community about the Dajjal, and I tell you about him as well. But I will tell you something which no one told any of their people, that he is al-A'war al-Dajjal. When he said he is al-A'war, many came and asked the question, al-A'war, what does it mean? It means the one who is blind in one eye. Many came and asked, does that mean that literally there is a human being who will come who is blind in one eye but can see in the other? Or does it mean something metaphorical? That no, there may be a system which relates to it. And you find the Prophet in another hadith, what does he state? He comes forward and states, beware of trials with your wealth, trials with your old age, trials with your death, trials with sickness, and trials with the Dajjal. What do the Freemasons have to do with this system? What did Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen say are the signs of Dajjal you should be aware of in your community? Abdullah bin Umar narrates that the Prophet narrates, in my dream I saw a person of a reddish complexion doing tawaf around the Kaaba. And when I saw the person doing tawaf, I saw water dripping from his head. I asked Jibreel, who is that? He said to me, that's Jesus, son of Mary. Then I saw someone with reddish curly hair, and I saw them that they had whitish skin, and they had a protruding eye which looked like a grape. And I therefore asked Jibreel, who is that? He said, that is al-A'war al-Dajjal. And the Prophet continues to mention in the hadith that the person resembled a man from Bani Khuza'ah. Some came forward when they looked at this hadith, they said, look, the hadith is literal. That Dajjal is literally someone with a protruding eye, someone who doesn't see in one eye but the other one is protruding. Likewise, there is a hadith from Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen which they quote in other sources of Islamic books, where the Imam comes forward and states that the Dajjal is someone whose right eye is punctured, his left eye is a bit slanted. Only the believer can see on his forehead the letters Kufr. Its first aims is not allowing religion in society. Rather, it wants to build a secular, one-eye, narrow-minded society, devoid of religion, devoid of God. The second opinion is that the Dajjal system is one which doesn't want free thinkers. If there are free thinkers, then they are got rid of. They are shot, they are killed. The moment any president or prime minister or musician or film star questions the system of the Dajjal, then you find that they are got rid of. Someone says, what do you mean? I mean that there is an ideology which has existed for a while, but its name has changed over the years. An ideology which originally may have had a history and a basis in Christianity. As in, it may have only been 1,000 years ago when Christians recaptured Jerusalem. That there may have been a number of Christians who were amongst them, who then 20 years later captured the Dome of the Rock. But this group were heretics according to certain narratives. They decided to reject the path of God, even coming out with beliefs in idolatry, homosexuality, even coming forward and taking from the ancient pagan magic rituals of the Egyptians, satanic mystical groups like the Kabbalah movement, taking them on as part of their ways. Such a group would then be seen as heretics. Some of them may have been executed, others found sanctuary in Scotland. When they found sanctuary in Scotland, under Richard the Bruce, they defeated the British. They remained within the spectrum of Scottish and British society, known as the Knight Templars. They would be amongst the leaders. They'd have the propaganda machines in their hands. But they realized that for them to have control of society, first they needed control of the European society. They changed their names from the Knight Templars to the Masons. And changing their name to the Freemasons, they would organize lodges, legions, initiations, where they would see which parts of Europe we can control with our world order. They began with Europe. When they began with Europe, they wanted to first go towards France, bring down the monarchy, have a stranglehold on a society where church and state are separated, and when there is secularism, which is the main. They're with the help of the Rothschild family. When Nathan Rothschild helped them with a major loan, he said to them, if you look after the Jewish community, we'll look after you with our bank industry. They'd go to control France. They controlled Europe. Then they wanted to go towards America. But when they went towards America, their leadership, which represented them, wanted to make sure the symbolic Egyptian pagan movement would continue and be seen. That even on their currency bill, there would be a pyramid with an eye on top. Egyptian paganism and symbolism returned, and the eye returned. And the eye is to be looked at every time you pick up a dollar, that you see al-A'war al-Dajjal, that eye right in front of you. And under it, the idea of a new world order. A world order which began in the 18th century outright and would continue. And continue with the eye as our symbol for that world order. Was it the only symbol? No, because you want to control the minds of people. So how do you control their minds? Look at how the Dajjal works. You think you, the followers of Ahl al-Bayt, are the only ones who are working? This Dajjal is working as well. The Dajjal system works. It works by programming you, and sometimes you forget that you need deprogramming. How many lecturers say purify yourself? Do you know what they mean? They mean go and look in the mirror and ask yourself if you've been programmed by a system where now you are actually following things you can't get rid of anymore. What do I mean? I mean whether it's through films, whether it's through music, whether it's through other industries, they grab a hold of you and they take you towards them. Someone says, what do you mean? If it's through films, it was only years ago that a film was called The Man Who Would Be King. Sean Connery and Michael Caine. And one of them is in a town in the area of India where the inhabitants are rich. The inhabitants, as they're about to hit this man, as they're about to hit Connery, they see a necklace with an eye in front of them. When they see it, they all bow down before the eye. They say that we are a group of people called the Kafirs. Watch the film. Don't look at me. Watch the film. They say we are the Kafirs and you are our king. He later says, I'm not just the king. Pointing at the eye, says, I am your God as well. I am your authority. At the time, subconsciously, I may not recognize what's happening to me. I've heard the word kafir, I've seen an eye, I've seen someone who calls himself God. But there's a message which Rudyard Kipling, who originally was a Mason, wanted to send. Then you find even something as trivial as The Simpsons. Very trivial. Someone will say to me, it's so trivial. But you all know very well that there are lines in that cartoon which are sharper than the mind of any adult. And in one particular one of them, when Homer is obsessed with the stone cutters, people look at it, they smile, they laugh when they see it. Who are the stone cutters? Well, isn't there a group called the Masons? What's a Mason? What's a stone cutter? He's obsessed with the stone cutters, but then they become obsessed with him. When they realize the symbol of the eye is with him, they start bowing down towards him. They go into a Masonic lodge. Again, it's embedded. In the film Independence Day, Area 51, where everyone has to enter the outside, you see a big eye outside Area 51. That everyone will eventually come under our authority. No one will come in our way. Even they didn't stop in the films, they went to the music industry. How? From the beginning in Mozart, his music would reflect his love for pagan Egyptian ideas and symbolism. In his classical music, the idea of the pagan Egyptian gods is being rhythmed on. Then you find later on someone like Madonna prides herself on dancing on a checkered board. The symbol of the Masonic movement is of course the checkered board. All of them would dance on it. On top of that, in one of her albums, she shows the eye right behind her. If you don't believe in it, see on the back of her jacket there's an eye. But now, ironically, only a few years ago, Madonna says, I've become a member of the Kabbalah movement. The Knight Templars had used Kabbalah. Madonna today in her music, Kabbalah is there within the music, within her own lifestyle. You find even that person, Jay-Z. He comes forward in his lyrics, keeps on telling us about a sun god. Why the sun god? Why embed in your listeners the idea of the sun god? Because of the ancient origin of the group who didn't believe in Allah, but rather heretically believed in the sun god. And therefore you find in every area, even on my phone, when I'm answering my phone. And what does the person have? He says, I have an Apple iPhone. You look at that apple, why is the apple bitten? Why not keep a full apple? Because the original sin was a bitten apple, wasn't it?